Hello and welcome to Maximum Disc, a show where I celebrate physical media and talk about films that I own on Blu Ray and 4K Blu Ray. I'm James Adamson, I'm a co-host on the Double Reel Film Podcast. If you like this chat about physical media, please do check out Double Reel. It's a magazine-style film podcast made by people who love the movies as much as you do. We cover various films and topics, and if you tune into any episode, we think you'll come away with at least a few recommendations of things to watch that are new and different rather than just consuming content from the algorithm. That's the sales pitch for the podcast out of the way. Now we're talking about physical media. Why does it matter? Well, hopefully you already know why it matters, which is why you've clicked on this review. But we think if you care about a film, you need to own it. You can't rely on the streamers to make it available. A lot of things just aren't out there. I know, streaming's made more things available, but some things just aren't around. You can't guarantee it'll be the director's cut or the proper version that makes the film work, especially for films by the director we're talking about today. And it's just not going to look and sound its best in a compressed file over the internet compared to a proper disc that you can pull off your shelf and watch with all of its glories there for your home cinema system to pull out. Each episode is just one film that I own, talking about the film quality. Obviously, you want to know about the sound in the video, whether it's a good, reproduction of the film, makes you feel like you did when you watched it for the first time at the cinema and all that kind of thing. I like to talk about the background to the film, my relationship to it, why it matters to me. And when I round it up at the end, I'll talk about whether I think this is an essential purchase, which is just my opinion, but hopefully it'll help you make your own mind up. So today we're talking about Alien on 4K Blu-ray. This is the 1979 first entry in the Alien franchise, directed by the incomparable Ridley Scott, the film that really made his name. He's a favourite filmmaker of mine for many reasons, including his striking visuals, the way some of his best films just take your breath away, the fact that he's just so good at making the world of his films just come to life so fully. And partly because he was born just up the road from me in South Shields. The film's based on a screenplay by Dan O'Bannon, from a screen story by O'Bannon and Ronald Shusett. It partly expands on one of the subplots of Dan O'Bannon's early collaboration with John Carpenter, Dark Star. That played this kind of alien aboard the ship more for laughs with an incredibly low budget. This is much more polished and more frightening. The cast, as if you didn't know, is headed up by Sigourney Weaver in the role that made her career really come to life, with able support from the likes of Tom Skerritt, John Hurt, Ian Holm, Yaphet Kotto, Veronica Cartwright, and the great Harry Dean Stanton. The cinematographer was Derek Van Lint. Doesn't have a big filmography. He previously worked with Ridley Scott on commercials when they were starting out at Ridley Scott Productions. The 70s was where it was almost a film school for some of that new breed of British director like Scott and Adrian Lyne and Alan Parker. Van Lint actually turned down the chance to work on Scott's follow-up Blade Runner after this and mostly went back to TV commercials. But this is quite a decent legacy to have left behind in the world of film. The usual big sound team, in particular for a film of this nature, but the leading members included in award nominations were Derek Leather, Jim Shields and Bill Rowe. Bill Rowe in particular being a key member of the sound team on Local Hero, which I reviewed recently. The score is by Jerry Goldsmith, one of the most famous and successful film composers of all time. His career spanned the early 60s through the early 2000s. He won an Oscar for his work on The Omen, and he's taken in pretty much every genre of film. Here, his score is very closely aligned with the sound design and sound effects of the film and has become forever intertwined with the style of the Alien franchise. In terms of awards and nominations, well, horror sci-fi rarely gets a look in at the Oscars, but it did get nominated for its incredible art direction and production design. It blows my mind that it didn't win, actually. What could possibly have beaten that? All That Jazz, apparently, Bob Fosse's sort of last great opus. Okay, I love that film. I think it benefited, in fact, from the Academy likes musicals a lot better than it likes horror films. Alien did win for its other Oscar nomination, unsurprisingly Best Visual Effects, for the legendary H.R. Giger and his team. H.R. Giger is now an icon of film horror thanks to his work on this. It also got BAFTA nominations, winning for production design and sound, and got various other nominations at other ceremonies. The Saturn Awards, which do at least respect genre cinema, gave it seven nominations, wins for Ridley Scott as Best Director and Veronica Cartwright as Best Supporting Actress. How does Sigourney Weaver not win the Saturn Award for Best Actress at the awards for horror and sci-fi, you ask, playing Ellen Ripley in Alien? Because I like Mary Steenburgen better in Time After Time. They did make it up to Sigourney in 1986 for the sequel. Quick summary of what the film is about, as if you don't know. The mining ship Nostromo is pulling 20 million tons of ore that it's dug out of some distant planet, rock or moon, back to Earth. The crew are in hypersleep on their way back to Earth. It's going to take them a couple of years to get back. They are woken up by a distress signal coming from a nearby planet as they're going past it. They go down to investigate and find a strange alien spaceship with dead giant space jockeys that Ridley Scott returned to with Prometheus later on. And on that ship are thousands and thousands of eggs or pods. The one of the eggs bursts out. A face hugger jumps onto the body of John Hurt's Kane character. They take him back to the ship. Don't know quite what to do about this thing that's attached around his face. The alien bursts out of John Hurt's chest, creating a whole new form of horror. And then lurks in the ship, growing bigger and more dangerous, gradually picking off the crew one by one. So it's a pretty simple premise. I named all the actors who appear in the film, apart from the people who worked and operated and wore the suit for the alien. It's, in that sense, quite small scale, but it does take place on this massive spaceship, or what looks like a massive spaceship. Like I said, it has origins in Dark Star, because Dan O'Bannon had a subplot where a funny-looking kind of cute alien is hiding in the back of the ship, and it's a similar space truckers, slightly shabby-looking spaceship rather than something gleaming and new from Kubrick. It also follows a little bit the format of an old B movie called It, The Terror from Beyond Space, and I think that's a sign of what was happening in the 70s and 80s, and what had previously been B movies were given A-list treatments with bigger budgets, very stylish directors, quite well-known casts, and became the blockbusters of the day. Probably a process that started with Jaws. This film also benefits from Ridley Scott's fascination with Stanley Kubrick's 2001. That's coming after Ridley Scott's first film, or previous film, The Duelists, had been inspired by Kubrick's Barry Lyndon. But Scott was so blown away by 2001: A Space Odyssey that he wanted to make his own opus in space, and a striking-looking spaceship that you would see floating through the void and be captivated by. So my background with the film goes back a long way. I sat down to watch this aged 11 on TV with my mum late at night, probably too young. Story of my generation, watching horror films younger than we were meant to. It scared me shitless. I was haunted by it. My mum and dad's house had, nooks and crannies that weren't very well lit because of where the lights were. And the way Alien is that the film has endless kind of space that you're not sure where anything is. Half of the scares of the film are not being sure what's in that dark corner of the screen. And you would, as a kid, I would walk down and think, oh God, what's in that corner? It tingles down the spine for months after watching this film. But it also kicked off my fascination for alien, horror, sci-fi, for Ridley Scott films. Like most people, that great traumatic scare sort of doesn't just live in your dreams. It forms your film watching habits. I watched the sequel Aliens, loved it. I will defend somewhat Alien 3. And despite myself, I've watched and rewatched the fatally flawed Resurrection. The franchise continues. None of it's anything like as good as where it started. But yeah, I live in the world in which Alien exists. The original has stayed with me as an all-time classic. Multiple rewatches, video rentals, buying it on pretty much every format, including the Alien Anthology box set that came out on Blu Ray in 2010, finally now on 4K, which is what I'm reviewing today. I was also lucky enough to see this film at the cinema in 2019 for its 40th anniversary re-release. So, yeah, this is a special and important film for me. Let's talk about the disc. It is the 40th anniversary 4K Blu Ray. It comes with a slipcover and its own packaging and the usual kind of picture of an alien slavering on the cover. It's a 2-disc edition, which includes the film on Blu-ray alongside the special features. You get the 2003 director's cut, which is you know, quite often a Ridley Scott director's cut is significant, but Ridley Scott himself says it was a chance to tighten up a bit of editing. Not important to me. I don't watch the director's cut very often. It's the original, really, for me, the theatrical edition. The special features on here are a bit basic. You get a couple of audio commentaries featuring Scott and the cast and crew. There's an introduction to the film by Ridley Scott. There's the trailer, audio-only version of the score, deleted and extended scenes. It doesn't compare to the anthology box set, which had 2 bonus discs with an archive, deleted scenes, TV specials and documentaries, Sigourney Weaver's original screen test, photo galleries and so on. That's the place to go for the special features. It's got a leaflet, it's got everything. This is much more basic than that, but it does benefit from what they call premium Ultra HD, HDR. They've given it the full treatment to really bring this to life. And I went into this film thinking, oh, well, I mean, Ridley Scott's visual stylings. Look at how good Blade Runner looks in 4K. I can't wait to do this. So I went into this one pretty high expectations of how good it was going to look. In particular, they always talk about the blacks on 4K Blu-ray. A really good example of that is Matt Reeves' The Batman, which only really pops on 4K because you can see everything. There's contrast even in all the dark scenes, and I was looking forward to seeing that on 4K. So let's talk about the video. It was shot originally on 35mm Eastman film using Panavision cameras and lenses for a wide frame. Now, Ridley Scott likes it big. He didn't shoot it in 70mm like his hero Kubrick shot 2001, but Panavision gets blown up to 70mm for the film print, so you get a big wide screen, which looks great for the shots of space and the spaceship going by and walking on the planet and all of those things. But what it also does beautifully, like John Carpenter, Dan O'Bannon's other former collaborator, is it creates a huge amount of negative space. So what you get is a big wide frame, and the alien could be anywhere. You get lots of great close-ups. Sigourney Weaver is right up there. You can see her in, real close-up and sweat on people's faces and all of that stuff. But that big wide Panavision frame is really, really good. Panavision is rapidly turning out to be my favourite format because obviously 70mm is amazing, but I think Panavision gives you that big screen, but is more versatile. I'm getting a bit wonky there, geeky, so I'll leave that to one side. For comparison of this video, I watched my old Blu Ray for the anthology edition. Now that's obviously upscaled on my 4K Blu Ray player, so it's obviously going to look better than it originally did on just a regular sort of 1080 HD Blu Ray player. And I also watched the Ultra HD streaming version, which you can have on Disney Plus. So the Ultra HD streaming, it looks good, it's really sharp, but it's compressed, it's shallow, you don't get the real depth and texture. The Blu-ray is very, very, very good, as you'd expect. It's a Ridley Scott film with that incredible production design, the ship, the textures, that alien spaceship when you walk through, it all just looks absolutely amazing. The way he's recreated every deck of the ship. And that this has passed into kind of parody on things like Red Dwarf and everything else, and all the other films that said, well, that's how we make sci-fi now. Not like Kubrick's kind of gleaming, round, smooth surfaces. It's a workplace. It's got people's coats hanging over the chairs, but all of that texture is there. Now in 4K, it is absolutely stunning, as you'd expect. They put a lot of effort into this, and Ridley Scott is, as far as I know, approved this. He hasn't tinkered with it the way that, perhaps other people in the Alien franchise, I'm looking at you, James Cameron, would do. He doesn't mind if there's still some film grain left. It looks amazing. The particular scenes that I pay close attention to were the opening scene when you see that ship go through, and it's really vivid. You really can see all the. I know that's only a model, about 6 inches, in diameter, but all the pieces, the antenna, the satellite dish, the various parts of the ship that go past the camera, it looks amazing and so textured in 4K. The people's uniforms, you can almost see like a little bit of rust on one or two of the kind of ladders when they climb up it. The alien looks really frightening. The goo and the bits of the egg when it opens up and the face when it comes out, it's all amazing. It's all stunning. Absolutely as you'd expect, the video on this 4K is absolutely incredible. I would say though that the previous version on Blu-ray was already very, very good, and we'll come back to that later. The sound, The sound is excellent as well. It was originally recorded in 6-track 70mm Dolby sound, so Ridley Scott wanted a good soundscape from the beginning on his original prints. This is the same sound mixed in DTS 5.1 that you got on the Blu Ray. It hasn't changed because, as is often the case with Blu Ray to 4K Blu Ray, the sound's already great. And it's excellent. And the soundscape here is really important. And if you watch the scene, the famous chest bursting scene with John Hurt, the sounds of people, the struggling, the something's happening inside his body. John Hurt's sort of keening and screaming, and everything is going absolutely wrong. When the ship starts breaking apart because they operate the self-destruct, that sound is really powerful and immersive. But again, I would say they've quite rightly said that they already had the sound right on the Blu-ray and they've just reproduced that here. But on your home cinema speakers, on a good Blu-ray that's putting all the sound through, matching to Dolby sound to the quality of your modern speakers, it's all stunning. And Jerry Goldsmith's score is great. It's really clever because you get, there is an orchestra playing music, but it's often quite subdued. And then the sound, the cues are almost like sound effects in their own right, something that James Horner and James Cameron took to the next level with Aliens, but it's just so beautifully done here. And the sound is as important as the vision. But again, just to be clear, if it's the same sound that they've had for a while, just fully reproduced here, and you don't miss anything. You hear what people are saying, you hear what people are saying over the siren, the klaxon going that this is all about to go off, and when they're intercutting between Yaphet Kotto and Veronica Cartwright, cowering in one corner and Sigourney Weaver trying to get to them, all that cross-cutting, you don't lose a thing. It's excellent. So overall, look, this is an amazing film. Ridley Scott is one of the great visual stylists, and what people have come to realise about him is that the visual style always serves a purpose, because you do not disbelieve for 1 second that that's a real spaceship, and that's a real kind of, it's not a set on Pinewood Studios. That's a real kind of warehouse, that's a real kind of deck of the ship where Harry Dean stands and is looking for the cat and the alien pops up behind him. And because you believe in the world, that really makes the story so powerful. And that's what Ridley Scott's always been very, very good at. And elevating the production design and the sound and the technical quality of the film makes the scares something really special. That's why it's more than just a B-movie. It is a great suspense, horror, sci-fi film. And it's spawned a franchise, some of which entries I still really love. It's funny, really, because you talk about this, and this is another film because I've lived with it for for 40 years. I first watched this film on a small television in my mum and dad's house. The speakers were like one little mono speaker in the corner. The quality was not even DVD, and yet the film had an impact. But there is something about seeing it in its full effect in a full widescreen television, which really, really blows you away. So it's a great home viewing experience. Is it an essential purchase? Now, as far as I'm concerned, a physical media copy of Alien is definitely an essential purchase. But there are a couple of caveats to that. How much of a fan are you of this franchise? How much do you care about owning it? I think if you clicked on a video like this, you do care about physical media, you want to own it. This is one of the all-time great reference copy 4Ks. I mean, if someone says, name me 10 4K Blu-rays which really do the job, this would be one of them, alongside Blade Runner and The Thing and a number of others. But it's streaming on Disney Plus anytime you like. I do wonder if everyone's going to go out and buy this. I think you should. Don't rely on the streamers. Don't rely on Disney. The real caveat is, if you already own this on Blu-ray, you already have an excellent sound and vision copy of this film. You might want to hold on for the sales or hold on for a while anyway before you upgrade to 4K if you already own this on Blu-ray. I don't regret buying this on 4K at all. I think Ridley Scott's best films on 4K Blu-ray are an absolute no-brainer purchase for me. So if you don't own it already, this is better than not owning it at all. It's better than streaming. It's better than your old DVD copy. It's better, but not a million miles better than your copy of this on Blu-ray, is all I would say. So that's Alien. I hope you enjoyed this review. I certainly enjoyed talking to you about it. Once again, if you do enjoy the show, please do check out Double Reel, and ways to find the podcast on our socials will be on the screen in a moment. But in any event, I hope to see you here again for more physical media chat on Maximum Disc. The Maximum Disc YouTube channel is brought to you by Double Reel, the monthly magazine podcast for the discerning film nerd. If you like our celebration of physical media, please check out the podcast for more chat about the films we love and hate.